it's Blair with Live Learn Gardening, and I wanted to tell you what else I'm planting right now. So this is kind of a planting guide for what to plant right now in mid-September. It's September 14th, I believe, and has been raining for 2 days. It's cloudy today. This is a great time to get some seeds in the ground. It may heat up a little bit more toward the end of September, but it seems that we're out of the 100. So this is a great time to really get planting. I have lots of things in my seed tray that I started a few weeks ago, so I'm gonna try to get those in the ground. And then I also have some seeds out here. This is beans. I've got my green stalk next to me, and I'm planning on just filling this green stalk with green beans. I've never really gotten enough green beans to have a meal out of. I've gotten plenty for my daughter to pick, or like maybe 1 or 2 meals, but not a bunch of meals. And so this year I've decided I'm just gonna fill this green stalk and get hopefully as many green beans as I possibly can. Let's see how it goes. Talking through what I'm going to plant this time, I'm going to plant some royal burgundy beans. I've got tons of this green bean. I'm probably going to have to order new green beans soon. Or these are, I guess, technically purple beans. These are the beans, and all I'm going to do, you plant them about 1 inch in the soil, and I'm just going to go around, find all the empty pockets here, and plant. Make sure to compact the soil nice and firmly over each one that you plant. Now, hopefully this video will remind me that I planted a whole bunch of royal burgundy green beans in basically every open spot in this green stalk. As I go along, I'm just pulling out, I'm not pulling out the full plant, but a lot of them, the roots, a lot of these plants, the roots have kind of broken away a little. And so I'm just pulling out the top part of the plant to make room for the next plant, but most of the root system of this plant is still going to be in the ground. All right, part of the problem is I'm already forgetting where I planted beans. All right, looking for places where the ground is not disturbed. That's still technically a plant. I'll leave that there. This is sort of upsetting. A lot of my strawberry plants did not work out. That's the full root system, but I need space for the green beans, so. Minimal disturbance, not no disturbance with no dig, huh? One of the many reasons I love these green stalks is I can plant so many different things while leaving things like herbs in the planter as I go. So cool. So theoretically, you would want to succession plant these beans a couple of weeks apart. I do have the ones that were already started in here, but I'm not very good at succession planting. I tend to forget to do it. So I am just planting as many as I can. Remember to plant, and I'm not going to worry too much about it. Burgundy's label, it's the contender's label, which means that was the contender. That planted. Okay. Just pulling out these strawberries, or at least the top of them as I go, or moving them aside. I'll leave a little bit of root structure in there. I don't think it's hurting the soil in any way. And then one of the big things I want to do, because this is a pot, essentially, it's going to need a nutrient infusion. And so, all right, I think I planted pretty much the whole thing in the open spots. The only open spot I haven't planted is this one right here. It used to have a bird nest in it, and I honestly just don't want to stick my hand in there. Stake here. Pull out all the bird nest stuff. Here, show you while I do it. There's used to be a bird nest in here. There were eggs, but I think it probably just got too wet for the birds. So just gonna dump that out. I'm gonna dig a little hole with the stick. Put that in. soil a little. There we go. All right, that green stalk is, all the gaps are planted basically. Go over to the other green stalk over here. Let's see here, get this chair out of the way. All right, I'm trying to decide what to plant in my green stalk over there. I have these options for plants. These are cucumbers. I don't want to do cucumbers because they tend to vine, and I think that's a mess on a green stalk. This is a squash that's also vining. This is a cucumber vining. These guys are basil. I don't really like basil in these guys, or parsley even. I don't think they do as well. So I don't actually have a lot of options left of what to plant in the green stalk. Kale has done okay, but I tend to like the kale that is in the beds a little bit better. It just seems to grow better. So I guess I'll probably just do more green beans and maybe drop a couple of these in here, though I honestly think those are going to do better not in a green stalk as well. That's just kind of my gut instinct there. Definitely not cauliflower. It's just not the right environment for it. And then the parsley and the basil I think actually do better in other places, and I'm definitely not going to do the Brussels sprouts. That's just not, I don't think that's a good fit for a green stalk tower. So I think it's just lots and lots of green beans. Now I could wait like 2 weeks to put them in, but yeah, that's probably not gonna happen. So now one thing about this green stalk, I may end up having to wait at least a couple of days or a day or two. This soil, first of all, it's kind of low. Second of all, it's just really dry. And even though it was rained on, and I'm just not feeling nearly as healthy as my other green stalk. So I think I'm gonna go and get some compost manure and fill this first, fill all the pockets, rub it in a little bit, probably put some vermicompost in there, kind of reinvigorate the soil, and then I'll plant this one. One way to tell kind of what needs to be planted in your from your seedlings is to look at the bottom of the tray and see where roots are poking out. We don't want things to get root bound. It looks like these bunching onions and this basil is pretty ready to plant, and same with the cucumbers over here. So I'm going to try to get all these in the ground today. A few of these other ones, that's the squash that definitely needs to be planted. What is this? Oh, that's the parsley. So I probably want to get that in the ground too. I've had a couple good spots with parsley. I'm going to pop this probably in one of my garden beds over here. And yeah, let's get all this stuff in the ground. Gonna need to plan or prepare a couple beds. So let's see, or rather prepare some spots to put them. This garden is looking really green and lush, especially with those lovely morning glories up top. Let's take a closer look at those guys. Look at these happy morning glories. The funny thing is I kind of want this garden bed back, and of course now the morning glories are finally in full bloom and look gorgeous. So we'll see. I did plant yesterday. I came out here and planted a couple of cucumbers. I put one right here, and this is a little potato one I put right here. But part of me really does want to clear out some of this cucamelon and morning glory so that we can plant these. Now, one thing I am noticing is the cucamelons are finally, we seem to finally be getting cucamelons. They were all just dying on the vine before, but I think the weather's finally in a place where we can get some. So we'll see. Oh, well, I broke that one off, but this would probably mature into a cucamelon. So we'll see. I could also put them over there, but especially the eggplant seems to really be producing. It's got lots of flowers on it. So I think I'm gonna leave that garden bed alone. I know it looks a mess. And this one, I do expect the peppers to come back. I am planning on planting probably some kale in this bed. Or I could possibly put the kale, once it's ready, in this bed over here. Just pull out all of that kind of cover crop, which is the amaranth. I think it's amaranth and sweet potato. So we'll see. But those plants aren't quite ready yet. So I've got some time to think about that one. This basil is basically a little done for. And it still smells good, but it's this basil is kind of done for. It still smells good and it's in decent condition, but it's definitely woodier than I would like for it to be. So I might replace this with some, or at least take it out and put some cucumbers there instead. Places to plant these things. I think I'm gonna plant a cucumber right over here, and I think I'm gonna pull out that melon. It's just never produced anything, though. Now, of course, it has actual flowers on it. So, we'll see. Maybe I'll plant the cucumber in this pot out here because I didn't like these peppers anyway. And I'll plan on pulling the pepper plant out soon. Baby in there. It's very unlikely to survive. Ooh, that ground is dry. Interesting. Alright. Let's get it back here. We'll grow cucumbers in pots all the time, so that should be okay. Let's see, here's another cucumber. Funny, there's some like fool's gold there. One of the hardest things I think as a gardener is to decide what goes and what stays. So this is a green bean plant. It's actually quite huge, and there are a bunch of green beans on it. And I can't honestly decide whether to keep it and see how these green beans do, or pull it out so I can put something else in. What I think I'm gonna do is gonna kind of split the difference. I'm gonna leave these guys in for another week or so and see if it starts forming fully sized green beans. What it's been doing all summer is forming these tiny little green beans, and then they've been kind of going to seed really quickly, but not even forming seeds because I don't think it's had enough energy. So we're gonna try this out, give it another week or two. I mean, if it does start truly producing green beans, there will be a lot because the plant's already established. If not, then I'm just gonna wait, or then I'm just gonna pull it out and put something else in here. But I am going to put a couple of other plants in the ground kind of around here. I don't know if you can see that pot over there, but I'm going to fill that pot with basil. I love putting basil in pots. I can move it around for sun and things like that. And I think that pot's in decent condition, so I'm going to put basil in that, add some fertilizer, and then, or organic fertilizer, of course. And then I'm going to put some basil in this back here as well, just on the edges. Basil doesn't need as much water and things like that, so I can kind of put it around the edges of the bed. And my basil that has been in beds has been doing really well. Another reason I want to get everything planted here is this was left out in the rainstorm overnight, and the soil is concerningly wet. So getting these guys in the ground where they're not drowning, I think is going to be important. Basil in it many times. I tried to keep it watered all summer so that the microorganisms in the pot didn't die off. This is the basil that was there before. It's definitely done. Very woody. The leaves are turning like a lighter color, and it would just not taste good at all. Now I left this in here as long as possible because it does tend to promote life in the soil to have root systems in here. I am pulling out the root systems. I probably didn't need to do that, but you know, just trying to make space for the new stuff. One of my concerns, I see some little bugs in here. I think they're the okay kind of little bugs. As long as I'm not seeing like ants and aphids and stuff. Let's see. Use a stick to kind of dig around, make sure the soil looks okay. Yeah, it still looks like it has a lot of organic material. It doesn't look like dry and crumbly. I've definitely had some of the soil in some of my pots look kind of dry and crumbly. This looks okay. I think I watered it just enough, and this last rain shower kind of reinvigorated the life in it a little bit. Pulling out the leaves. Some of them anyway. I'm leaving most of them actually. Just loosening up and kind of checking for any large, I'm not disturbing very deeply in the soil. I'm just kind of smoothing out the top. It was a little uneven. And then I'm just going to dig just enough hole. It's not tilling or anything. I'm definitely not going down and pulling out the soil. I'm just smoothing out the surface because it pulled out a few plants. And all right, here we go. So I'm probably just going to plant this chock full of basil. I love basil, and I think it does really well in pots. And so I'm just going to create a couple of holes here. And I'm going to fill this up. I've got, let's see, I have 4 basil plants, well, technically 5. Though these had, some of them had a lot less germination than others. Probably going to do, I'm going to do 3 plants along the middle here. Give them some space. And I'm going to tease them apart a little. Here, I'll show you. So, let's see if I can tease them apart a little. I like basil growing in a group, but yeah, these have been growing in here a while. I'm not sure they're going to come apart. Let's see, don't want to disturb the roots too much. I don't want to break them or anything. These are pretty intertwined. Let's see. So I just kind of gently massage the roots without, you don't want any snapping or breaking, but just see if I can tease a couple apart. Oh, there's one plant. Oh, there we go. Okay, they sort of suddenly all of a sudden came apart. So I'm just going to plant them all kind of in a row here and just give them each a little bit of space. I am still going to kind of cluster lots and lots of basil in this pot. My goal here is to have tons of basil in one place, but I figure if I can spread out the plants a little more, maybe in theory I get a little more basil. We'll see. These are pretty interconnected, so I might just leave all 3 of these together, and we'll actually run a little experiment. We'll see which one does better, the ones that are separated or the one that's kind of together. All right, let's grab a second set. So this is 5 or 6 plants in each one, basically. That was 6 plants. This is, looks like 5. There's also lots of seeds in here, so there might be some extra babies that kind of come up that were just in the soil here. Again, just teasing these guys apart. I am loosening up the soil that they were in, which is fine. It's still going into this pot. This was really good soil. This made a lot of difference, I believe, to me this year. This Vermont compost, I think, really made a difference in my seed starting. These 3 together. All right, that pot is full enough anyway. Make sure to keep this watered. Get the soil nice and tight around these root systems so they don't fall over. There we go. All right, there's a pot of basil. Perfect. There's a lot of root system right here in this bed for my cucamelons. I don't particularly want to disturb, so I'm just going to dig a little hole here, put the parsley in. I'm not putting another cucumber in here. See how it does. I'm gonna keep a couple of them in the, see if I can pull this little seedling out. Yeah. Do 2 plants right next to each other. I don't know if that guy's gonna survive with its little tiny root system. Can I pull this one out? Oh, no, that one kind of died. Right there. I've got 3 little parsley plants. I think probably only that one will survive, but we'll see. This pot has definitely seen better days. There's lots of great seed that I could save here, but instead I'm just gonna kind of scatter it across my garden. See if I get any volunteer basil this fall or next year. Maybe a little silly, but look at that. Very, very woody plant. I'm trying not to disturb the soil too much here. These are kind of deeply embedded. But these plants are absolutely done for. Some of them are so dead I can just kind of pull out that kind of top piece without disturbing the soil too much. And these are not the best clippers for this activity, but they will do. Get these guys out of the soil and there we go. Okay. There's a few little baby plants sprouting in here. Very curious what those are. So these big root systems out. Leaves off the surface just so we can kind of see what we're dealing with. And yeah, I think I'm gonna just plant this. This was a little dry under the surface. What I really need to do is go get some new kind of compost to put over the top of everything. I think I'm gonna just go get some vermicompost for this and get started with it. My vermicompost, I have a ton of it. There's all kinds of other stuff in it too. There's soldier fly larvae and all kinds of things. But so one of the big benefits of vermicompost is kind of moisturizing the soil or adding moisture retention properties to the soil. So here I'm just lightly scratching this vermicompost into the top of this, and then hoping that will it'll be enough to get the soil kind of up and going. I have been watering it all summer, but it has pad plants in it, but I do think it's a little drier than I'd like it to be, which means I think I don't think it's dead, but it could definitely use an infusion of love, I guess. So here is some more basil. I'm just gonna really pop this whole thing in. And do it toward the center. Let's see, this plant was one plant last time and it did take over the whole pot. So we'll run a slightly different experiment on this one where we just plant a cluster of 5 all in one place. Breaking up the root system that's just right under where I'm planting this. And those are dead root systems, so shouldn't cause any problems. And then I think that's all I need in this pot. It seems like a small thing for such a big pot, but basil can get really big really quickly. So we'll see. We'll see. See if we have any sweet potatoes. Quite a few vines. These were planted the latest. Let's see. Any sweet potatoes down here? Not finding anything so far. This is one plant right here. Had a couple of weeks under the sun. Oh, there's a sweet potato. Let's see. All right. Just pull up the whole plant. Oh. Yeah, I think I definitely pulled this up too early. We'll see. Okay. Decent amount of vine attached to this. I need to kind of dig up the ground to get these little potatoes. Oh, so little. Oh dear. Oh, there's something. Not great, but this really was a cover crop anyway. Got 2 little guys so far. Another really little guy with some holes in it. It's actually what I found with the last batch that I pulled up. There was something eating them. Definitely like a worm or something. turning black. All right, well, oh, that might be it for the sweet potatoes over here for this particular plant. So we'll leave the rest of the plants and just go ahead and get this squash in the ground. I'm more interested in trying out the spaghetti squash at the moment than I am waiting for these sweet potatoes to mature or not mature. So get this guy in the ground and get him going. All right. Little itty bitty sweet potatoes. Oh well. Ooh, it's kind of hard as a rock in there. No idea where my other shovel is. There we go. Just need that one little spot loose enough to get my... Okay, there we go. This one's got even a nice little true leaf on it, so hopefully it will survive. A little shady in this spot. I'm gonna just pull off some of the surrounding leaves here, just to give it a little more sun, especially on this morningward side. There we go. All right. Hopefully that's enough to give me some parsley. Well, really get the butterflies some parsley. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me today. I hope this inspired you to get your fall garden started and get out there and gardening. I can't wait to tell you guys how everything's doing in a week or so once I do my first full fall garden tour. Have a wonderful day. Thanks. Bye.